What's good, YouTube? Welcome back. Today is LazyDaze Tubby, and I'm back at it again on my solo channel, doing some more history reaction for you guys today. It is some more HistoryMarche's content for you, and it is their series, the Muslim Conquests. And we're doing their episode, the Battle of Yarmouk, 636 AD, part 1 of 2, the storm gathers in the Middle East. I'm really looking forward to finding out what HistoryMarche has got in store for me today. They make amazing content and I always enjoy their storytelling. Though they do such a great job indeed, and they go into such good detail. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I hope you guys are enjoying my journey through this as well. If you haven't already, head over to their page. The link's in the description box down below. If you're enjoying my content, looking forward to future content, you know what you need to do. You need to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. But we're going to jump straight into this one.
On a warm August day in 636 CE, the Arab army under Khalid ibn al-Walid challenged the supremacy of the mighty Byzantine Empire.
Okay.
The two armies stared each other down across the grassy field of the Yarmouk plateau, while the vultures circled above. One Arab warrior stepped forward, crying out, "I am the killer of Romans. I am the scourge sent upon you." The battle that would change the course of history is about to take place.
Okay.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the best all-in-one visual. After Prophet Muhammad's death in 632, the first caliph, Abu Bakr, coordinated military campaigns over vast territories of Arabia, turning the peninsula into a stronghold of Islam. This expansion was spearheaded by battle-hardened and experienced commanders, most notably Khalid ibn al-Walid, the most dependable commander for the Prophet and his successors.
That he was.
The caliph's goal to bring all Arab tribal groups under Rashidun rule, including those in the steppes and cities of Iraq and Syria, led to the first direct clashes with the Byzantines and Sasanians. The two empires had been at war with each other for decades, and the prolonged conflict exhausted the two superpowers. The Byzantines formally restored control over their territories, but decades of war brought political and economic strife across their territory in the Levant, and the imperial authority wasn't yet fully re-established beyond the Dead Sea in the southeast. Foreign policy changed as well. The empire stopped subsidizing many tribal groups that fought on their side, deeming this financial expenditure was no longer needed now that the war against the Sasanians was won. Instead, they began building defensive coalitions with nomadic groups of northern Hejaz to guard Syria from the southeast, extending their political control into Arabia, thereby directly threatening the Muslims who sought to unite Arab tribes under the banner of Islam.
Of course,
hence, it was imperative for Abu Bakr to assert Rashidun influence in the direction of Syria before the Byzantines could make headway in pulling this area into their sphere of influence.
Yeah, just brought a target.
In early 633, 4 Arab armies entered Byzantine territory, commanded by Amr ibn al-Az, Shurabil ibn Hassana, Yazid ibn Abi Sufyan, and Abu Ubaidah. They were ordered not to attack, besiege, or raze any major cities. The objective of this initial phase of the campaign was to occupy the countryside inhabited predominantly by the Arabic-speaking population, many of whom would join the Islamic cause, thus swelling Rashidun ranks and providing valuable logistical support.
All right.
These early operations laid the groundwork for the upcoming invasion, and, ironically, Abu Bakr's focus on the countryside would fool the Byzantines into perceiving the Muslims as mere raiders, and therefore no significant imperial forces were assembled to combat the threat in early 633. Meanwhile, in the east, Caliph's orders were the same: bring the Arab tribes of Iraq into the fold. From the south, Abu Bakr dispatched Khalid, his most trusted commander, in early spring. As the army assembled, the core of Khalid's force of loyal volunteers was augmented by troops from several tribes across Arabia. Some of these tribes fought against Medina in the Ridda Wars, but some sections remained loyal, and it was these troops that now reinforced the campaign against the Sasanians. What followed was one of Khalid's greatest strategic achievements. The swift conquest of Sasanian lands west of the Euphrates in a series of battles would be a display of true tactical genius. With his versatile implementation of the indirect approach, Khalid would attack opposing armies from unexpected directions with multiple rapid flanking maneuvers. Furthermore, he was one of only a few commanders in history who used double envelopment to encircle and destroy armies larger than his own, launching perfectly timed cavalry attacks on the opponent's flanks. This daring war of movement,
what a great commander he was,
reflected his lightning-fast conquest of the territory west of the Euphrates.
Just look how much ground he covered as well. It's just so impressive.
Then, as he laid the groundwork for Rashidan administration and planned the offensive into central Iraq and the Sasanian capital, a message arrived from the Caliph. Khalid was to urgently march to Syria to take command of the invasion of the Byzantine Empire. In April 634, he departed Iraq with a small force of veterans whose loyalty to Islam was absolute, striking out across the desert towards Syria. A most perilous of journeys. The troops couldn't carry enough water to last until they reached Syria, so Khalid forced 20 of the camels to drink large quantities of water, then tied their mouths so they wouldn't spoil it by eating or chewing their cud. Camels would then be slaughtered daily, and the preserved water in their stomachs would quench the thirst of the troops.
So fucking impressive.
The march through largely waterless country lasted for 6 days, becoming one of Khalid's most famous military feats.
I do remember that from the
Upon entering Syria, he moved southwest to meet with the 3 Muslim armies near Damascus, capturing forts and towns along the way. Byzantine garrisons were caught completely by surprise, not expecting that Muslim troops could enter their territory from an inhospitable desert. So far the empire
You would be absolutely fucking shitting it, wouldn't you? Because you wouldn't expect it. It's like a natural defense and a natural border separation, and then to suddenly see an army approach from that side, you would, because there's no defenses, there's no men sort of guarding it, but like no fortifications, peak.
On a system of forts along the border that would relay information about enemy troop movements to the interior, giving the Imperial Army time to mobilize and respond to the threat. The prevailing mindset was that any attack that penetrated into the interior would eventually be repulsed, thus any loss of territory would only be temporary. But by now the Muslims gained full control over rural areas in the southeast, and with Khalid's arrival, the Caliph turned his full attention to the conquest of important Syrian towns. Bostra fell first, and the 4 Muslim armies marched towards Palestine to join Amr ibn al-Az, who was facing a large concentration of Byzantine troops commanded by Emperor Heraclius's brother Theodore. The Byzantines reportedly recruited Bedouin Christian spies and were able to anticipate the movement of the Muslim army, managing to position themselves for the upcoming attack. The Battle of Ajnadan, the first major engagement, was bitterly fought. Many prominent Muslims fell as martyrs on the field of battle, but under Khalid's leadership, the Arabs managed to wipe out the presence of the Byzantine field army in Syria, and were now advancing north. Theodore retreated to join the emperor at Meza, while remnants of the imperial army fled in disorder to nearby walled cities and forts, with many of the survivors converging on Pella, joining the garrison that was stationed there. Alarmed by Khalid's rapid advance, Heraclius dispatched 2 contingents to fortify key roads south of Damascus, to give the city time to prepare for a siege that was soon coming, and then subsequently headed for Antioch, to begin preparations to deal with the Arab threat.
Okay.
But the Byzantines were not able to hold Khalid's advance for long, as the Muslim army outmaneuvered their entrenched positions and proceeded to surround Damascus 2 days later. The siege lasted for 20 days, and after a Byzantine relief force was defeated,
I'm loving the animation and sound effects that he's got on this video.
the city capitulated. But then came news from
And the
Medina
special effects.
that Caliph
Or the editing
Abu
effects.
Bakr died about a month earlier, making Umar ibn al-Khattab, Khalid's cousin, his successor. Aware of Khalid's popularity, the deeply religious Umar demoted him and placed Abu Ubaidah in charge of the Muslim army, aiming to show that no matter who commands the troops, it is Allah alone who gives victory on the battlefield.
Which was something I always respected from, is it Umar? Just want to double check. Yeah, Umar. He's prevalent through the first beginning parts, and like he makes a few of these decisions that I really respected. Yeah, just making it seem like there's not one great commander, so the power could fall to them, and for allegiance to fall to that one person for their democracy or what. I don't know what sort of political system, the council or however voting system, whatever it was called, couldn't get corrupted by sort of having a monarchy take over. It was really interesting to see how he tried to stop that for as long as he could.
Ubaidah in charge of the Muslim army, aiming to show that no matter who commands the troops, it is Allah alone who gives victory on the battlefield. Under the command of the more cautious Abu Ubaidah, the Muslim advance continued at a slower pace over the coming months. He divided the army in two, advancing north with the majority of the troops, while sending 2 armies to capture Palestine, where several strong Byzantine garrisons remained in the rear during the initial rapid Muslim advance.
They've done so much.
Meanwhile, in Antioch, Heraclius wasn't sitting idle. He displayed the military might of the Byzantine Empire as 5 armies assembled and began their march back into Syria from multiple directions, under the overall command of Van, an Armenian general. Furthermore, Heraclius sent word to all major cities, reminding the people of the Byzantine superiority after recent victories against the Sasanians. The message was clear. That Syria belonged to the empire was a fact of life after centuries of Byzantine rule, and the current situation, while alarming, was a setback that will be dealt with. Heraclius's army was prepared to defeat the Arabs in a decisive battle, or destroy their separate armies piecemeal. Upon learning of the initial movement of enemy troops, Khalid immediately recognized that the Muslim position in the north will be surrounded by the numerically superior Byzantine army. He urged Abu Ubaidah to abandon northern Syria and retreat south to a stronger position where the rest of their forces could join them.
But
After some consideration, Abu Ubaidah ordered the army to march south.
nice.
Messengers were sent to
Listen
the 2
to Khalid.
commanders in Palestine to meet with the main army on the vast plains northeast of Lake Tiberias, which offered plenty of fodder for the horses and were conducive to cavalry maneuvers. And, just as Khalid had suspected, 4 imperial armies marched on Emesa, which would have pinned the Arabs in the north, while another Byzantine army was to recapture Damascus and cut off their line of retreat. The Muslim army
a problem.
withdrew just in time. Meanwhile, Yazdegerd negotiated with Heraclius to mount an offensive from the east. However, the Sasanian army would not be ready in time for a simultaneous attack. Back west, faced against a massive Byzantine army, Abu Ubaidah sent word to Caliph Umar to send all available reinforcements to Syria. And, as the Muslim armies met, scouts reported that a strong Byzantine garrison gathered at Caesarea. This made encamping on the plains near Lake Tiberias a dangerous proposition, as the Arab army could now potentially be attacked on 2 sides.
that'd be an issue.
Abu Ubaidah again heeded Khalid's advice to move the army to a stronger position on the eastern end of the Yarmouk plateau. With the battle looming, Khalid was recognized as the ablest field commander and was given temporary control of the troops, while Abu Ubaidah remained in overall strategic command, and the Byzantine army followed close behind. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the best all-in-one visual website.
And I guess we'll find out what happens in part 2 in the next episode. That seems like it's the end of this episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. If you guys are, you know exactly what you need to do. You need to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will catch you in the next video.